Warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with W4W Foundation and media partner Counterview. This is Dr Bhargav, I'm currently holding the National President position of the Wiki Water Resource Council and also the Founder Director of W4W Foundation. We are glad to do this conversation, namely Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, which we co-equally refer as Blue Lips. The conversation is aimed to share the worries and the wisdom by the woman, for the woman, and of the woman in the water sector. In here, we hope to learn about the water endeavours of the woman in a regular, disciplined manner like a masterclass. Although the conversation here with our present guests are going to be very informally organized or interactive, however, this is a part of a formal research conducted on women in the water sector, especially trying to acknowledge and appreciate their contribution in the water sector, because women have been the silent or invisible hands in water management and they have been on the receiving side of the water crisis. As you will see that we have actually reached to 99 sessions. Before 98 sessions, we have touched upon lives of 130 women who have shared their experiences, life journeys with us, and it has been extremely enriching session. And we have also glad to announce that we have Medha Patkar Tai or Medha Tai, who has agreed to do the valedictory or the closing session for us. We will close at 100 session because it's a formal research and we start working on writing the manuscript, but the YouTube series is available for everyone to watch. Today we have really two wonderful women talking to us, Dr. Charuta Kulkarni and Dr. Anitha K. Sharma. And I have been stalking them for quite some time to have this session. So thank you so much, girls, for agreeing to be with us. And before I invite you for an interaction, I'd just like to give a quick overview of your life experiences. Dr. Charuta Kulkarni is an earth scientist and educator, a social ecological system researcher and science policy felicitator. Working across 3 continents, she is a trained environmental scientist with academic background and research experience in natural and social sciences. She is interested in putting interdisciplinary knowledge, analytical and communication skill set to work towards finding solutions and bridging people. Her core competency lies in technical and non-technical writing, including grant and project development with a very nice history of international grants. She carries a deep love for teaching, training, and knowledge exchange. With innate leadership qualities, she also bears mindfulness in conceiving, strategizing, and executing collaborative projects. She is faculty at the School of Sustainability at Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Madras. And now we have our next speaker, Dr. Anitha K. Sharma. And I met her actually, I have not met Charuta yet, and I met Anitha once in a river conference in Varanasi. Dr. Anitha K. Sharma works in water, environment, urban and climate sector with over 25 years of experience. She has gained this experience both as researcher and practitioner through her academic achievements. And importantly, just giving a very few names here, as she worked as a development engineer at one of the largest wastewater treatment plant in Denmark. She's worked as investment manager for many years in a portfolio of more than 100 R&D projects in the field of climate, energy, and environment at Innovation Fund Denmark. During this period, she was also representing Denmark in the EU and India, and she was also posted as diplomat and sector councillor in the urban development with focus on water at the Royal Danish Embassy and facilitating the collaboration between Denmark and India in the water and smart city sector. She has visited many countries, more than 40, I suppose, and she's collaborated across 5 continents and gained vast experience in funding on the global sustainable solutions in water, environment, urban and climate sector. She strongly believes that collaboration and partnership between government authorities, technology providers, knowledge institutions and citizens is like key to achieve sustainable water and urban sector and always strives for it. Thank you so much, girls. As we have already read out your biography, now we get into the details of Charuta and Anitha, the woman we would like to know. There is a vast knowledge you carry, but also you carry an emotional, intellectual, spiritual bit with you, knowing a little bit about both of you. And we would like to really have this conversation more in a way that we want the new generation to know that these women walked the water sector, because when we started, and you will recall that I was actually having only three names in my head: Vandana Shiva, Medha Patkar, and Sunita Narayan, and sometime later Indira Khurana, and full stop. But now we with this effort, we really want to give a palette of powerful women, so that both men and women accept that there are women who are working hard in the sector. So very simple question. Thank you, girls. I will start with a time when, probably few years ago, decades ago, when you fell into love with the subject. When was that? How was that? When did you really recognize or realize, oh my God, here is water where I can live with or talk about it? We start with Charuta, probably. Yes, go ahead, Charuta.
Sure. I mean, yeah. But I think Anita and I already had our own little session this morning. I should definitely mention. We talked to each other. We couldn't find time until early, like today. But when we started talking, we didn't stop until 1.5 hours or something. So we already had our 1 hour
Had your
session. But
session.
of course, I was, yeah. Of course, I was lying down recovering from my XYZ things and all that. So yeah, I mean, it's just so marvelous to be able to talk to Anita, to be able to talk to you, because I think we all, like as women scientists, women researchers, women practitioners, I think we value that a lot. And I think you sort of congregated it in a very nice way. We have all these different angles, and we don't leave any of these angles apart. I am not saying that men would leave that, but I think with us it's just that if you give us like X part, we will always ask for the Y part, and Z part, we want to execute all X, Y, and Z. So I think that has been, if you want me to, quickly summarize what I have been and who I have been on, when was my own journey discovery started. Um, I am one of those people who are into everything. I mean, I love everything. So I love Earth as a system. So I just, like started with one of the natural sciences to learn about how the Earth comes into existence, did come into existence, X, Y, Z, right? So the natural lens was the geological lens. And that's why I got my first so-called, degree educational training in geology. But when I got that, I was equally excited to start my next journey, which was the archaeology journey. So I said that now I got the natural lens at the landscapes, how landscapes transform, how they come to be in the first place, naturally speaking. But I also want to know what people do with it. So then I went into, like archaeology. I got blamed a lot by both geologists and archaeologists. I like that, why are you changing disciplines and you are doing well as a geologist? You will get a job at ONGC. I said, I don't want a job at ONGC and all that. It's all sorts of things. And because I wanted to merge these two disciplines, and I wanted to have a natural plus social lens at the landscapes, how they transform across the time. What's the role of climate change in it? What's the role of people in it? The way we define land use is very, like anthropogenic, right? So we just say that people have done these XYZ things, but people have done it under circumstances, and those circumstances might not be social at all times. They can be climatic at all times. They can be political at like at that time, and political to the extent that it can only influence certain regions. So I experienced that, and I think I'll stop at that so Anita could pick it up. That while my PhD was in the US with the City University of New York, but my study area was Southeastern Europe. So I was studying the Danube River Valley, and when you called
Wow.
me in for water, I said, oh, I mean, why I am there and talking about water, but then I thought of the Danube River Valley, which is one of the biggest valleys, like in the world. And that valley I studied from the environmental history point of view, studying that how that landscape came to be, as I said. And that is where I got to learn about, there are XYZ climatic periods where the climate, like the weather was too cold for people to cope up. So how they changed their subsistence strategies to do that. So they went from the nomadic pastoralism to agriculture, from agriculture to eventually, industrial era, because I was studying the last 700 years of that Danube Valley.
Wow.
So that was, so that was my study during the PhD. But after PhD, one thing I never, like left behind was the policy angle, was like how we basically change things to make a difference, like on some level. So in order to do that, I just thought that, okay, I got the environmental history sort of sorted with geology, archaeology, all this blend together. But now I want to, like give it a policy spin. And that is where I wrote a Marie Curie grant, European Union Marie Curie grant. And that is when I studied, although I was situated in Europe, I was studying Western Ghats agroforestry system. So mentally I was back in India already. So it was like a, like full circle, full journey for me. And then those agroforestry systems, when they came to be, once again, like how people actually make these systems happen, because agroforestry is agriculture for forestry and all that. So that policy angle never left my mind ever. And I kept on reading. And then we have a national agroforestry policy. So think about, like how any valley for that matter, it changes, how that geographical context changes, and what, once again, as I said, climate change for people. So that has been sort of a, like full circle. So anytime you give me, like one specific stick to work with, I will say that, okay, I'll use this stick, but I want another stick to work with. And then I, do this, and then the
Mm.
fire would come out of it, perhaps.
Nice.
So I think that is where I would stop. Yeah, Anita, please.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Charuta. And as you said, that we had such a wonderful conversation this morning. And also, thanks a lot, Manasi, for inviting us to these sessions. It's really good to also get this angle from the women perspective, because whenever I see something about water, it is not about the women working in the water sector, but it is like women has been spending so much time in bringing the
Yes.
water, so poor women, let us, so we have to change that kind of a thing. And I'm really happy that that you have taken this initiative on at least starting on that, and what you call it, interviewing around 130 and more maybe. And when you ask me that when did my love or passion to water started, I would say I think the day I was born, because I'm born in the month of June.
Oh,
So that is the time when the first rain falls in Indian. I mean, because I was born in the South India in Telangana. So that is the time when the first rains come. So I'm always like fascinated about the water. Wherever I go, I used to look at the water. Where does this water coming from, and what is happening? So that has been like my passionate to water. And every year we used to go to the nearby river that is called Godavari, that is around 40 kilometers from the place where I was born. And every year we used to go and take a dip in that river. And that was like all the time in my mind that, oh, where does the I'm so fascinated about the water. And at the age of 9 I was about to drown. So that's why I am very afraid of water. I don't go into deep waters,
oh,
but the love for water never changed. On the contrary, it actually grew even fast, I mean, even stronger. And already, I think at the age of 7, I wanted to be an engineer, working or going on a in a jeep to a bridge side and working on river and doing so that is still there in my brain, and recently I visited one of these areas where they were using the excavator to dig it, and that is there. So it is in my body. The water is in my body, and it is my DNA, my passion. So it will never ever change. And even I mean, I come from a very like traditional Rajasthani family where a women cannot, I mean, it's not well seen to be an engineer. You can either be a doctor. As a woman, you choose the medical line, whereas as a man you choose the engineering line. But I said that no way, if I have to study, it will be the engineering line, and it will be that line. So when I did my civil engineering, it was again my specialization was in the wastewater. So water has always been there. And when we used to go from my home to my college that is in Warangal, that is called KITS, and everywhere where we used to cross these channels and water and these lakes, it was always, I was so fascinated about that. And I was like all the time, this water, I mean, it is, the water is dragging me towards it. So my specialization was also in aeration in the wastewater, that how do you do that. And when I went to Denmark, it was the master in environmental engineering from Denmark I did, and my PhD was on groundwater arsenic, so and how it is the health effects in West Bengal. So
yes.
even though I was doing from Denmark, my study area was from the Kolkata and Bangladesh. So I traveled there a lot and did that one. And again, that as Charuta said, one discipline is not good enough. I mean, we need to have that holistic approach. So my PhD was in groundwater. Then my as a development engineer from a wastewater treatment plant, all the how the how the good water ends into the wastewater, and then postdoc and senior researcher in the stormwater management, nature-based solutions, climate effect on rivers. So it was like the holistic approach I got into it. And I always liked, what do you call it, a good mix between the practice and the theory. So for me, just doing research was not good enough, because when I do a research, it ends up as a report. And what would I do with that report? The model. So I've always went back and tried it in this one. And also, like you said, I was also working at the Innovation Fund Denmark, and where I was working as an investment manager. And we always used to say there are like these four pillars that are important. The policy pillar, as Charuta was also saying, that without the policy, you need to have those framework. But we also need the technology providers, because you have the policy, you have everything, but if you don't have the technology, nothing happens. But also the knowledge partners, that is the universities and research institutions, because they are the ones, they are the encyclopedia of that area, right? Because they are there all the time. They give the teaching, they give all these things. So we need that. But the fourth one we tend to forget is the citizens, all the civil society organizations, because if you don't have them, then whatever you do, it may not be able to implement it in the right way, because something you discover in Hyderabad may not be the same thing in Jaipur, or maybe in Denmark, or here, even in India, because some people, they say that, oh, your Western country, those technology may not be valid here. But even in India, if you go from one state to the other, a lot of things are changing, a lot of these things happening. One of the example I can give, even in Denmark, such a small country, depending on which area you are getting the wastewater, we know what the quality of that wastewater is, right? If in an area you have a lot of people from one region, they might be using a lot of oil, so that wastewater contains more compared to this. So we need to have that knowledge, and we need to have this one. And the 4 years I spent in India as a diplomat at the Danish embassy, looking after this Indo-Danish collaboration, where I collaborated with the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and the Goa government, the Rajasthan government, the UP government. It was like the vast, this one. And it's so I think the infrastructure that is being developed in India, if that is developed based on the knowledge that is available in the Western countries, I think we can have these future solutions everywhere. The co-creation is very important. So that is where I really focus a lot on. And like Charuta, I can also keep on talking a
Yes,
lot. And you can see,
so
water is my passion.
I think
So very reluctantly we dropped this call in the morning. I think both of us we continue on. So I think while you are talking, so may I speak like for one more sentence or two?
yes,
Mansi,
please,
would it be
please
okay?
go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So I think this is something I think we also thought here at School of Sustainability, and in general I always keep saying that like within one India, I think we also spoke this morning that within one India there are many Indias, right? So we are not, yeah, and then there is urban, then there is peri-urban, then there is suburban, then of course rural and all that. And then, but I think the non-negotiable is to be able to talk across, like everybody, across all the people. So like I got this question, like similar question at the industrial ecology workshop. And then I took a very ecology part of it very, very seriously. And I said, when you say ecology, ecosystem, you have to take an ecosystem approach to each of these things. So whether you are working in a forest ecosystem, whether you're working in a savanna ecosystem, whether you're working in mangroves, right? Anitha, you have done a wonderful body of work created around mangrove ecosystems. And then that is one thing I think we have to think about. And now that I think about it, Mansi, I think the connection sort of started also from, like during my master's, one of my first, or the first actually, to be precise, my first student internship, which was a paid internship in that year, which is 2006 and 7, long, long back, it feels like. That was with Aqua Dam with Dr. Himanshu Kulkarni. So then, of course, we all started with that inkling inside our head anyway. So basically thinking about like how as a geologist, right, over there, what I created, of course, is a watershed model, because I know my basalts, I know my, like different types of basalts and whatnot. But then on top of it, what exactly we needed to be able to think about what were the quantities that existed for each of these villages. There was this Nani Pada and Choti Pada, because this was the travel hinterlands of the like Gujarat, right? So dance basically. So then thinking about like how much water is needed and how much water is procured basically, and keep the balance, that ecosystem balance in there, right? So I think that is one thing we all had in mind when we started thinking about it from a very systemic point of view. We just said we can't leave any of these threads behind. So I was asked like how does your day start and how does your day end? What do you do? I said I talk to, like of course government officials because we train them. We of course talk to, like civil societies or non-profits to be precise, like we definitely talk to them. And things are changing because with IIT, that it's a T school at the end of the day, but the sustainability doesn't stop at technology innovation or deployment. It rather starts at the technology deployment because the context matters, the social environmental context matters. So I think we could leave it at that and maybe take the next thing up.
Yes. Okay,
Maybe I
that's a
can
good
add
start.
one
Go ahead,
sentence.
Anitha. Go ahead. Because I
Because
have to tell both of you that it is one of the biggest finding by interviewing or interacting with most of you is that it is very engaging and engrossing. And of course, I know you. We all can flow and keep talking about the work. I want to bring your attention to the point that here I am interested in the girl called Anitha and Charuta, not the water work you do. So just to bring back the conversation, because this is also one of the major finding I'm realizing, and if you do learn about women matters, you will also see that this has been highlighted a lot. That often woman is taking care of everything and everybody and forgetting about herself. And here is a session about you, not about the work you do and about the place you do. Sorry to say this, but I have to, this is my formal research, so I have to bring back my respondent to, streamline it. And I want to highlight two things from both of you. Yeah, this is also something which came out, that most of the women do talk about this holistic approach when they look at the sustainability. And the fact that we end up really thinking that every nook and corner or the holistic looking is important, which also is kind of something as every woman does at home, trying to master everything, trying to follow the passion, trying to follow the profession, trying to stay tuned with what's going on in the policy sector, and so on and so forth. So my next question to you is about how the life of woman when she wants to take her profession seriously, as I could see from your landing speech. We can really keep talking for whole day and not realize how passionate we are about our work. And I am passionate about knowing you as girls, as women. How is it for a highly passionate, highly professional woman to maintain that passion level, the profession level, and personal life where there are other members, interdependency is there? So I'm talking about family, talking about friends. How did you decode the balance of your life? If you have, it will be nice to know, because you are also aware that most of the women professionals tend to give up either when they get married or they have kids, they are unable to restart their life, and some of you have done it. And also by the time I know after 30 years, I give a damn to what, who thinks what and how things go. I do what I wish to do. This is my self-funded research. I would like to know your mantra of finding a balance between passion, profession, and personal life, because it is not so lucky for every woman to really have a convergence into all three. I have been very, very lucky to have a convergence where for me everything is blurred and everything is one. So I'm just doing like a crazy woman, doing whatever I think I would like to do, just like this, because I have no liability to a large extent. How is it with both of you? Maybe we start with Anitha, because she wanted to add something, so you can add and then take the question also. And please focus on your life.
before focusing on life, I just wanted to say about Charuta, because this
Go
morning
ahead.
she keeps on saying that she has the geology as a background, but that is a very important background for the water,
Absolutely.
because when the water penetrates through the different geological
Yes.
layers, that is what the water gets its character, its nature, it's this one. So that is what we also discussed this morning.
Yes.
And to make that self visible, so we need, actually, like groundwater is invisible, also women in water sector are invisible maybe,
They are
and they need to,
invisible.
exactly, and they need to bring to the visibility, and you're doing a great job here, Mansi. And yeah, as I said, I was all the time very focused. So I am not that kind of a typical female girl who would just do what was told her to do. That, as I said, that at the when I was at the 10th grade, they asked, my family said, no, as a girl you could only be a doctor. I said, no, I will study engineering. If you don't let me do, I'll stop. But I'm very happy that my mom, who has been my support, she supported me throughout my life in that way. She said, Anita, do whatever you want to do, I'll be there behind you. So the lady behind me is my mother, again, a woman that supported me. And also I wanted to go abroad to study, but that could only happen to after a marriage. So that's how I ended up in Denmark also. So it is like, it is, I mean, I don't want to paint like a very this picture, oh, I could manage or balance everything. No, unfortunately not, I could not do it. For me, my career was one of those very important things, and the family had suffered, I think, in that, because and sometimes I do have to like take the choices. For example, there was a conference, like my ex-husband was also in the same field, so we both had to go to a conference. Then the kids had to choose who had to stay at home. So in that way, some balance was brought in the lives. But otherwise, I think this is one of those very, very important thing, is that how do you balance your life, and how do you make, and we have to make lot of sacrifices, and I did that. Lot of sacrifices have been done, and but as like you, Mansi, I didn't give anything about that, because for me, if I have to do, I have to do it. So I was like very much focused in my career, because water is my passion, and I wanted to have as much knowledge as possible, and all these things, and the various sectors. So that is how, as a woman or a female, I never looked myself as a female or a male. It is, water is my passion, and wherever I was, I used to be the only lady in
Yes.
a
Many of
entire
us
this
face
one.
it.
And but I never saw, that is maybe one of the things, I never saw at myself as a lady, or as a female, or as this one.
Hmm.
I am a professional, so that was what
Hmm.
I look at myself. And that's why I think sometimes I also get very angry when all these water things, where they bring female as the one, the sufferer. And they, I mean, if you go to NGOs or anywhere, they just bring some female nicely, like yeah, what you call
Yes,
it,
and then felicitate
decorated.
them.
Victim,
Yeah,
victim.
nicely
Yeah,
decorated,
and
and
she is
asking
the
them to
victim.
give their
Yeah.
experiences. I don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I just say that,
It's
okay,
a trump
to
card.
get yeah, so to get a balance, we need both the male and the female. So where are the male? I want that
Mm-hmm.
one. The diversity
Mm-hmm.
is what brings the stability.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I also many times, maybe sometimes, I don't like this, oh, you need to have reservation for female, or you need to have, because that will never help. You need to create this right environment so that we can be there in that. And we
Yeah.
are human being, whether it's a male or a female, we are human beings, so we have different kind of these things. So we need to study what are these different requirements that are there, and make that happen for everybody. And I still remember, when I was doing research, my name was put in all the applications,
Hmm.
because they needed the female researcher to have that higher. And
You
you
were a
know
diversity card. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I don't like those. I mean, I think the
yeah.
the infrastructure, or the conditions that have to be changed, rather than these things. And I'm very
Yeah.
happy that there are many, because especially all over the world, there are many female or women in water sector. But unfortunately, I mean, that is what we need to decode. What is it that makes a female to choose this administrative kind of a thing than the leadership? And one of my professors from Technical University of Denmark told me, I don't know how much that is right, and maybe Mansi, you can look into your research and come up with a solution. What he told me that women are very intelligent. Huh? They
Hmm.
don't want to work these late hours. That means, because compared to the male, I mean, this research and everything requires a long hours, and a little paid. Whereas, so his was that women are very, what you call it, very intelligent. So they only choose there where they don't have to work so much, but earn more or something like. I don't know. It's just a joke, or maybe
Yeah.
your research might show that that is true. I don't know. But
Hmm.
I used to tend up into the more in the male kind of a thing than the female kind of thing, because for me it's a passion. So I am a
Hmm.
workaholic also. So I
Yeah.
ended up
Yeah.
there where I am now because water is where I am. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just
No, but
want
I
to
think I'll take
go ahead.
I'll take that only one thread basically. I think all these sectors, they have been historically, of course, male dominated. And of
Yes.
course, we needed, like there had to be a segue. So, like, be it like geology, be it like archaeology, especially these are the field sciences, right? So, of course, there are, circumstances. For example, when I was doing it until 2005, I got my bachelor's in geology from Ferguson, and 2007, I got it from University of Pune, which is master's. So around that time, they never used to hire a female on a mining, like site, right? They could hire you for a desk job at ONGC, which is like a much higher, much popular, and then like much better paid, but it's still a desk job, right? So that kind of discrimination was already there, and like I'm just like you. I think Anita, we all share that passion. If I want to do something, I want to do something. I was never interested in petroleum. And all my professors were so mad at me, saying that why are you not choosing this because you have jobs there? I say because I want to do something else, right? Where something else basically is driving me, right? And that's something else that I want. And how you bring it, like of course you can keep this passion alive, but you have to have the surroundings with you, and you have to, I think, create a balance, like within you and around you as well, because it's just that you have to be surrounded by those like-minded people who are equally motivating and all. And then, of course, there are not that many like-minded people, especially 10 years, 20 years back. I just thought that it was so male dominated that
Mm.
you would always find a reason not to do it. So I think you stay with yourself, that is one thing, but you also stay very human about it. So I think to answer to Amansi's question, I stayed very human about it. And I learned that from my mom as well. My mom is a lawyer. And I have seen her, like going to the courts, this court, that court, all the way from, like local courts to district courts to the high courts, and not yet Supreme Court though. But then all these, she used to do that between, 10 and 5. And she used to make sure that before that she goes and cooks. But of course, she gets help because I grew up in Mumbai, by the way. So Mumbai has a long culture of working women and making sure, and especially Maharashtra had been one of those, progressive
Yes.
states and all that. But despite all that, like I saw my mom basically cooking before, cooking after, coming home, and then, without drinking a glass of water, she will go and then make sure that the maid is there and she's instructing the maid and all of that. If maid is not there, she's cooking and all of that. That's the first thing I thought. That's the first thing I decided I wouldn't do, because I will stay very human about it. If I'm also doing that many hours of a job, I will make sure that I have a system around me which can help me out basically, because it is not sustainable. I am not a superwoman. I don't want to be a superwoman, and I'm not a superhuman either. I'm a human being, so I'll stay human. I'll make sure that if I'm tired, I'm tired. If I'm not tired, I'm able to do it. I will get into that state where I am, like not tired. For example, in the morning, I have to cook my child's, like lunch, which takes only 30 minutes or something. I will make sure that I am healthy and all that, like for that bit. But that doesn't mean that in the evening I also have to take out like 30 minutes and I do that. But I'm very privileged in the sense, like I got a spouse who is so much into cooking that it doesn't let me into the kitchen. So I have a very, very, very conducive environment around me, and I'm like, yes, happy in general. But I'm personally speaking, you have to stay very human about it. Not everybody can afford it though, but I was able to afford it. So that's my answer to you, Mansi.
Yeah. So I want to bring two syndromes which I usually use, but both of you have been actually answering my questions in advance, which is making my life easy. To come back to Anitha, yes, whenever we talk about women in water, we get into that Abla Nari syndrome, and then we bring them as trump card into various events to felicitate them. Oh, she did this and that. And a big gap which I found when I started working on this research 4 years ago is that we are always looking at the women who are in a vulnerable, it's like a chemistry class, like you see in any TV serial, any successful person has to have a vulnerable background. So something like that is always used in women's case. And I remember in when I started working on this research, also the compendium brought out by the Ministry of Jal Shakti, UNDP, and by the way, CV on the women water warriors in the country, and they had all these women from the rural areas, and ironically, every woman's story started with how Abla Nari she was. So in that document, it is written that she is eighth fail, and I am just wondering the people who wrote it, how could you even write that in the document? So it's kind of, again, I see it's a shade of patriarchy, that it is obliging women to do that. And the other syndrome which I often talk about in this serial is the superwoman syndrome. And I think by the time we have reached this age, we tend to shed it. But I am having no doubt that when we start our career, when we start our family, our passion gets the back seat, and we, because we tend to carry this hat of superwoman syndrome. It is only by the time we get into menopause or adulthood, probably early 50, that we realize, there is something that we have to go back to humans. So anyway, I'm just sharing this. That brings me to the next round of question. Very simple question, but important for me to understand, because in the world the statistics says there's one woman in every five water professional globally. In India, we fare less than 1 in 10. Although when I am having this conversation with more than 100 women, I realize how deep impact they have, how large contributions they have made in the water sector. I am also wary of the fact that leadership is a pyramidal position. Any woman leadership, especially not only in water sector but in general. But so I go with a simple hypothesis: if there are more women in the water sector, we are more likely to have more leadership decision making positions who are taken by women. What is your take on this? Why India is still unable to see more women, visible women, in the decision making? Just 2 days ago, I downloaded something from the Ministry of Jal Shakti, groundwater, and Niti Aayog, where they discussed water issues, and it was all manual. And women were only holding the flower bouquets, the trays to bring to the men. This is just last week. I'm not talking far behind. So, what is your thought on this? Why are even these 100 women I know, and I wrote to them, being the national president right now, that girls, we have to do something and send our list to them, that next time when you have such meetings, at least invite us, some of us, not every one of us. What's your take on this? Why are we not there? And then once you respond, I will also share what I have been finding out. Why are we missing from the leadership role or visibility role in the water sector?
Anita, do you want to take it, or I'll see. I think one thing, Mansi, male, female, of course, that balance, I think we have to, like get that right. That is for sure. I mean, that goes without saying. I think India in general, if we want to think about, I think it's also our education, like the very core education where we actually start building our, and scientific ability, meaning critical thinking. So I think it is immaterial whether it is male or female. Even if more females are going to go there, that doesn't mean that critical thinking is going to come. So I think we have to think about this at a very, very, very cellular level, thinking about, how we can bring in, how people ask questions and questions, like why this happens basically. So whenever I used to ask that question as a child, and my mother is from Nagpur, and then Nagpur has this like setting, which is basically it can be quite rigid in general. So if I used to ask that same question in Mumbai, nobody would, like worry about, and they will answer it and say, yeah, all that. But then in Nagpur, everybody, your eyes are, like the eyebrows are raised
How
and things
dare
like
you
that.
ask this?
Yeah, how dare you ask why? And my mamas and everybody will ask my mom, like, why is she asking even questions and things like that? So, I mean, is this just an example? Nothing specifically around Nagpur, but I'm just giving you an example that, as I said, there are many Indias within India. So that complexity has to be understood in such a way that we are able to understand each other a little more through forums like this. That is one that can happen. Conversations have to happen. Second thing, in education itself, we have to think about how we teach kids basically in a very integrated manner and to be able to interconnect most of the things. Because I think water, when you say water, and I was thinking, like, why am I invited to this? Then I just started thinking about, like, everything, very little thing is related to water. So all those analysis I do is basically the water is flowing into XYZ lake, and then I'm getting this sample, soil samples, sediment samples, or whatever it is. Then I process them, then I create this landscape history and this and that. So everything goes back to that, but with multiple. It's like a soup, right? And that soup was made basically because I am able to pull out things from geology, from archaeology, from ecosystem science, and eventually from the policy on all that. And I ask why, right? So that why question I think is very essential. That critical thinking, and it is then immaterial, as Anita said, that whether it's a male or a female, whether we ask the right questions, whether we ask questions in the first place. I think that is what
We are
is
losing voice.
actually needed. Yeah. So, Anita.
Anita?
I would say it's not only in India, it's all over the world
Yes, it is.
that female or women is very less represented in the leadership or in this. As I said, from Denmark, I was there for the past 30 years. I used to be the only female in many of these meetings and other things, right? And actually, I was positively surprised when I was in India during my 4 year posting here. All the leadership roles like the Archana Vermaji, Devashri
Yes.
Mukherjee, and also Dr. Dithara, they are
Yes.
female. So at that level, we do have women. But what is missing is in the middle, this level or whatever. So
Yes.
we have lot
They
of
are missing
women.
actually.
So for me, I think maybe again the education kind of a thing. Maybe the next generation is coming because, as Charuta also said, that we were very few people. I mean, it started maybe like 20 years ago. I still remember when I did my engineering, we were only 3 girls out of 60 boys. So that is there. Of them, the one of them is like now housewife, the other one has gone into the IT sector. So it again depends on where we have ended, and most of these leadership roles are like in the early 50s or something, and at that level there are very few female. So I, because I have worked a lot in the last 4 years, traveled a lot all over India, and I have seen now the next generation of women or female coming into the water and other sectors, and they are taking a lead and everything. So I'm pretty sure that it will come. So it has nothing to do with that, because you need to, it's, that is why I'm saying it should not be like a male or female. It should be, are they able, their capacity, their this one, that we need to have into consideration. So I'm pretty sure that maybe in the next 5 to 10 years there will be more women in the water sector, even in these meetings that are coming there. So because it's the same thing was also in the Western, and they also worked a lot. And I recently, like 3 days ago only, I read a news in Denmark that a lot of these big companies of Denmark, they used to have this goal of having so many female leaders, but that goal they have recently removed. You know, not because they have reached that goal, but they are simply focusing on something else. So I think we should not like go this feminine or female thing. Oh, we have to be there, but we should be. We should get the qualification that we have, and we should we should have the right kind of environment, work environment, so that both male and female can work there. Then it is up to us whether we choose engineering or medicine or the water. I mean, because most of these meetings are done by civil engineers. Maybe the women may not go into that field. But if you go to the social sector, you will find a lot of female, and they might question that why male are not there in those water meetings. So again, water is not one water. So there are like many aspects of water,
Yes.
and there are many of these things. So I mean, looking at my side, it is not any discrimination or nothing is happening. It is more like the educational system and the lack of people in these different things. So if you provide the right environment, so because I know that a lot of discussions are happening in Denmark, because especially the women, they have these 4 or 5 years of their life when they get the kids. They take those years out of what you call it, the career, and if you don't provide the right environment for them, then it becomes difficult for them to come back. So that is what we need this, because like from 9 to 5 kind of a thing, or in Denmark, I mean, because you should be able to I mean, drop the kids at the school, bring them, because in the Western world, because in India you have a lot of help that can happen, but in Denmark we don't have any of those help. We have to drop, and the husband has to pick them up, or the vice versa, and do all these things. And I still remember, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, and if you don't do these two things, then it is like a lot of business, lot of decisions happen after the work hours, and there we are not there. So those kind of things we need to change those practices. And
Can I just quickly add one thing? Vansi, do we have time to do that?
Yeah, please. No, we still have 2 more questions to go. So you both girls.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just wanted to say that, see, but like my PhD was with City University of New York. So I spent literally 8 years of my life. And I'm a Mumbai girl who went to New York City and all that. And what I experienced, and I'm saying it with, of course, with a pinch of salt, that, and then I ended up watching something called as, like Samvidhan is one of the series which shows you on Rajya Sabha TV, which shows you how our constitution, Indian constitution, was made. So if everybody hasn't seen it, like please see it. So I think the way we started, I think like when I looked at the history of New York City, for example, then there is this, like environmentalism and all of that, and then suffragette and all those, which happened in 1920s, and the life of women were like completely different before that, right? And then I realized that we do have something called as 1947 that is when the constitution was set in. So we do have the policy, and since day one, we have said every man and woman and every child who becomes, adult at the age of 18 has a voting right. Right. So we have this system where we already started with that thing with like 1947, which is only 27 years from suffragette, which was like 1920s, right? So I think we do have that whatever, like sort of soup sort of ready, or the pan ready for the soup. In the sense, and that is where we have to draw in that, so I am one human whose vote is also equally important. So I think we have to highlight that particular part, and that basically is, and who doesn't want the voice to be heard? Everybody wants their voice to be heard, right? So I think we could capitalize on that very positively. That's what I just wanted to say. Yeah, sorry, Mansi, please go ahead.
No issues. But actually, this is what the conversation is all about. We also want to be part of that little transition where we are right now. Having said that, it is still important to highlight or amplify the work women do, the way women think, as you both also started with your thought to process, because what I have found out from reading over 6 years and then starting this conversation 4 years ago, one thing which women have not done is documenting and disseminating their own work, their own thoughts and ideas. And only we come to know about those women who have actually done that. So this is one of the major findings. And another thing, until now, from the readings, but not from the speeches, but from the speeches, what I also find from leadership roles is, one thing is that the path for leadership for women is longer as compared to the path for a man. And there is a general patriarchal disease that we have an acceptance for a male leadership, and even women have lesser acceptance for women leadership for that matter. So I'm just sharing some of the thoughts from there. That brings me to a quick question, and you have to give me in words, not a sentence. Okay. What are the attributes? Because we have to, we can continue. I think three of us can go on for a whole day. But I have to be mindful about the time also, and especially taking care of you, both of you. In words, what are the key attributes for you to define a good leadership? I need to know that because I want to really find out which are the attributes that are natural or inherent in a person, or which are the ones which can be nurtured or trained among women in that sense. One of the most common word which has
I'll
come
give it
out
to
is
you in
empathy.
2 words.
Yeah,
I'll
one of
give
the
it to you
word
in two
which has come
words.
out most in 98 sessions is empathy, by the way.
I was gonna say that I think we want competency and compassion. I think these
Okay.
are the two things. I will, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anitha?
I would say that, like, for us to be here, I mean, it will end as a sentence because it's not one word. I don't know what that word would be, Mansi,
Okay. No
because
issues.
because you struggle a lot to be there where you are. So I want the leader to understand me, not just the empathy, but understand me and give me the space to be myself. Then only I will thrive.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
so that is neither empathic nor, it's a combination of many things. So
Accommodation or understanding it. The person has to be
Acceptance.
understanding. Yeah,
yeah,
the
but
Yeah.
person.
understanding, but give me the opportunity. I mean, it's like something, because many times what happens, we know what we want to do because we are juggling with a lot of these things. So the leader or the manager need to know my ability, what I can do, and give me that space to work in that field.
Yeah. So,
Otherwise, I cannot be put in this a box. I
Boxes.
need to
Yeah.
flow like water,
yes.
and I need that.
I think you both made an important point here because unless and until every individual grows, institutions cannot grow. So you need that enabling environment. In fact, one of my last question is that, but both of you have been answering it time and again in this conversation. That brings me to another question on the role of networks and council or associations, because this series is hosted by Wiki Water Resource Council. I would like to know if you are member of such professional bodies or networks, and how that helps a woman really shape their career, and what should they look for, and what should they be offering, or you have to give example from your own life. And if you can tell us some names here where you are part of and how you benefited or how you contributed, it will be nice because I think we will have a new president now. I want to now really step down and also invite both of you to be part of the Wiki Water Resource Council, some wonderful women across the country. And Anitha, maybe you take up the responsibility of being our ambassador for the world. By the way, we presented at the World Water Week in 2024. 2023, when CV appreciated the initiative from Wiki Water Resource Council, and we also wrote a scientific paper on this whole journey of Wiki, which is a very new council. And I wrote it with Vishal, by the way, a scientific paper, Vishal Narayan, on the women leadership and the very fact where are the women leadership and why are we not in the forefront when and I am a strong believer that we need to continue talking about the women, and it we cannot pacify saying that everyone is equal and human. So I have this disagreement with both of you because if we talk about human beings, the natural thing comes out as men, very simply looking at the agriculture policy, the farming policy for that matter, the labor laws, everything is about men, whereas 70% of the workforce is women. So I am in that opinion, and that's why I am doing this series to amplify and acknowledge your work and appreciate thinking. Where are these associations, and have you been part of it, and how do you think that women can really become part of it? Anyone?
So I'll be very quick. Once again, I think you look at the recent past and you get these trends basically. But if you look at, because I'm an archaeologist on one level, if you look at the archaeological records, you get like men, women representation basically, making
Yes,
sure that what we do, like so men might go for hunting and gathering, hunting specifically, but what kind of hunting that will decide that whether it's a man or a woman. If it's a fish hunting, there has been, like even in India, we do have a references that women used to go and do fish
yes.
hunting,
And
basically.
farming,
That
for that
we do
matter.
have. So
Farming is
recent
invented
past
by women.
might be, yeah. So once again, like it can be very myopic when we look at the very recent past, last 200 years, especially the industrial era. But if you go beyond that and you see the picture changing, so that's exactly why we talk about, traditional knowledge, long-term changes and all that.
Absolutely,
On that
absolutely.
note, yeah, that is what I think I'm getting at. So I am a person who looks at the environmental histories in general and then social ecological systems in the long term context and then turn them into, like policy, practical policy implications as much as possible. So I have been part of one organization called Past Global Changes, which has been existing since last 35 years now about. And it is all about, past global changes. So understanding the past in the sense that understanding those patterns into, and that basically makes me very happy to be part of it because what Anita said earlier, when I am there as a part of the professional network, I am not a female scientist. I'm just a scientist over there. And
Absolutely.
then other people are there to understand that passion part of it. And then I don't have to, use my energy to tell people that I am that passionate. No, I'm passionate. I just come as a package, right? And I'm here and I'm a scientist. And that's where I'm able to connect with other scientists on that same
Yes.
level and able to talk to, so that's what I think that's one of the examples from me. And they help you hugely. I think any sort of network will help you hugely once again, but you just have to be very clear, like you on your level have to be very clear about what you want to do because there have to be people, as I said earlier, like you can find like-minded people within these networks, but you can also find people who can be really detrimental because they are also there in the power positions and they think that they are doing XYZ, which is a rational thing, which might not be. But these networks will hugely help you to filter out even the people and mindsets like that, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I so much agree with you and resonate the experiences I have had in the past. Anitha?
I was a part of many organizations, many networks, but I don't see that. I mean, they again, as Charuta was saying, they try to be in like silos or something like that. And for me, I need to flow. I need to have. So I have a huge network and I use that network to do whatever I want to rather than going into predefined like wiki for this or Indian this because that again because they want to excel, they want to say we are number one. I mean, so they are competing among each other than helping each other to do something, so they become
Fair
an
enough.
institution again in themselves, competing with others. And for me that is not there. I go for collaboration, partnership, co-creation, not
Okay, nice.
all the yeah.
With so many years, you already have your established network, and when we started populating in both in intellectually and by human resource, the Water Resource Council, we don't have many members right now. And it is no give and take in terms of fund money, no give and take in terms of any expectation. And you are good for council when you think you can exploit it, and council is good for you when you offer something to the council. So that way, that is my experience of being at the national president position in last 4 years. And honestly, I see, Charuta, you are working on social ecological system. So I'm really intrigued to invite you to be part of the International Association of the Study of Commons. Then you are from group
Yeah.
where I am also
Yeah.
right now.
I started following it on LinkedIn already, right? So if
Very
I
nice,
have to
very nice.
be writing, sending you my info somewhere, filling in form, I'm all there. I can do that from
Thank
my
you.
bed lately if I'm recovering.
No, no, that's
So
fine. I'm
yeah,
just
so I think I should go.
Yeah, this question is important because one of the things which I can pick from both of you, it is a space where you can be and you have like-minded people, and that is what we are also experiencing. I know some girls are working together, some are designing courses together, some are traveling together, some are meeting at some conferences. So that way, we have been talking about sisterhood. So not to promote Wiki WRC, but just because you are unaware of it, I thought I must give a brief overview what we have been doing, and also if you are interested, invite you. We will definitely send you an invitation. That brings me to the last question actually, and it has to be within 1 minute so that we can promote it in as a promotional thing. And it is having two subset of questions. And I know it has been extremely difficult for everyone to speak it in 1 minute. So you have one for each question. For question one, why do we need more women in the water sector, or do we need more women in the water sector? You can choose. Question two is, what simple behavioral change we have to bring in the work environment so that woman feels that she belongs there? Who goes first?
Yeah. I think, in the interest of time and in the interest of my recovery, right? I'm, not
Yes.
supposed to sit for that long. So I think I'll be very quick. I think, why we need more women in water sector or anywhere for that matter, because it's the diversity issue. Because when you bring in more people, you bring in more values, basically. And then, of course, we are all stratified, right? And stratified for good, stratified for bad. And India, as I said, there are one India carries so many Indias within. So definitely, if we get more women, we are thinking about more women coming from various different walks of life and be able to bring in that. So, and we want everybody of everybody, not just women, but we want everybody of everybody. Women have been underrepresented. So, of course, why not? They have to be there, right? They have to be there. That is one thing. And second, behavioral change is to be I can see it in like two different ways, right? We at School of Sustainability, if you want to think about, we look at behavioral change from two different angles. We see policy change also as a behavioral change on the government level, and we see industry, business model transformation as a behavioral change as well. And of course, there is citizen science or there is citizen, like awareness and all those basically citizens thinking about. So there is no one solution for any of this. We just have to make sure that we work on all these different levels, making sure that we make XYZ policies which are conducive for women to lead. Second, we want, like businesses to understand that they create their ESG, right? These days we do have their sustainability ratings. Within that, they have a social matrices and they meet those social matrices for real good by having more women in the all sorts of positions. And of course, we have to do it on the very, very cellular, as I said, level through the education itself, making sure that we get these values in, like through the schools, during the school curricula and all of that in a very real way. So, yeah, that's my pitch.
Hi, Anitha, over to you.
I have been wondering and thinking a lot about this. And actually, I don't have any answer to this because when I was studying, there were a lot of, even in Denmark, I'm talking about now, where all these things are there. Lot of female PhD students, lot of women in the water, but as soon as it comes that the next level, they are disappearing.
Yes.
Everywhere in the world. So actually, we need to find out what is it that makes them disappear and what can be done. Is it just a natural? Do we have to force it? Why do we have to force it? But as Charuta was saying, that it is good to have equal representation from both the fields to give because we are half of, right? I mean, the population has to be represented, but how that can be made is a big question. Nobody has an answer to that, even not me. But I would love to, if some research is going to be done, I would love to be a part of that to make the right questions, and get the answer.
That's
because
nice.
it's a very, very, that question is like unanswered everywhere in the world, not even here in India.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to end also this conversation. But before we end, you also have an opportunity to ask me one question if you have any, because it should be a little bit fair, not fully fair. But if you have any questions related to me or research or any other activity about women in water, this is your time to ask me question. Otherwise, I will do the vote of thanks.
Charuta, would you like to answer, or are you?
Yeah, no, I don't have
Okay.
any questions.
Okay.
Actually, Mansi, thank you so much. I want to thank you. And I just realized that I was so engrossed in talking about you. You asked me about, everything, my passion, and I started talking about my passion. So I didn't thank you. The first thing I should do before departing is like, thank you so much for inviting me here. And me, despite being, like I have some water connection, but eventually, of course, like I don't necessarily 100% work in the water sector. But despite that fact, you invited me and I could share, like some bits of it and especially my journey. So I'm very happy about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anitha, do you have any question for me?
I have one question is that
Okay.
I mean, like these hundreds talk series or whatever you have done, how did you get that idea? And how are we going to like have results or access while you are creating this manuscript or whatever that will come out, right? So I
Yeah.
would love to know, because this is a very, very I mean, good initiative you have done. Thanks for it, and also thanks for asking me to join, and it took like 2 years to make
Yes,
it happen, but
I've been
I'm
stalking
happy.
you for 2 years. Yes.
And I'm happy
You
that
know,
at last
yeah.
I was the last but not the
You are in the 100 club. You are in the 100 club. Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
for asking this question. And yeah, I have been also thinking how this will come. But when we started, actually, I started it as a duty towards the Wiki Water Resource Council because I thought it's a big responsibility. And that time we had no members. So, and then from there to bring a membership to around 100 women, of course, including around 20% of young, emerging young water scholars and practitioners. I got the idea for the very reason that whenever we talk about women, it is about always the Abla Nari syndrome. You know, these women who are struggling and then they fought some battle and then they got. And somehow the professionally educated practicing, I think the urban educated practicing women are completely undermined, and especially in a patriarchal society, we want to have Beti Padhao and Beti Bachao, but Beti Badhao is still behind. You know, we are still not so ready to take women. That's my experience, and that's when I started. We are still not there to take women. Not we means even men and women both. Where woman is highly educated and vocal and speaks her mind, that woman is not in the scene actually in the foreground. In fact, many of them will be labeled as activists. We know very wonderful women who are activists for that matter. So I thought it is important to have this conversation with all of you to understand why we just remain as professional and not take that extra step to become leaders. And maybe some of you already feel that you are in a leadership position. This is what I am trying to find out from all of you. You know, what exactly is leadership? Am I looking for particular kind of leadership, or actually anyone who is doing good is leadership? But then why don't people know us? Why don't people know you? You know, as much as they would know somebody who is very well known. So it was also for visibility. So acknowledging and appreciating, I thought I should find out. And I really wanted to craft simple questions and make it more ethnographical study. So the method I'm using is auto-ethnography, which is like your life or journey, and it will be my pen, of course, because it's a structured questionnaire, to be honest. I though I make it feel like a free flowing conversation, but the questions are very structured, and from day one till 100th session we will have the same questions, so that I can get some understanding. There are already 2 publications made out of it in the public domain available. So it is a scientific work done in a very unscientific or informal way. But I thought it can be my contribution to formation of this resource council, so that the future women leaders who take this position can really take it to new heights. And personally, I have benefited a lot being the national president of this council. I got visibility, I got all the advantages, I got a lot of invitations. So I will not deny the fact that I have benefited from it. But I also gave a lot to this council. I actually speak to minimum one council member every day for the last 4 years. So I have given my blood and sweat into making this whole movement, and also now coming to near 100 sessions. Very dedicated student, hearing from all of you wonderful women. It has been a very nice journey for me. It comes out as a coffee table book eventually. So we have your resumes with us, which is a formal resume, and then from this conversation we will pick the essence of our questions and responses. So each of you will be dedicated one chapter, and that book is already in the making now. Of course, it is going to take another 2 years or so to shape it, but the series is already open access, available to everyone, the YouTube channel, so people can always look at it and listen to all of you. And I have learned so much from everyone, to be honest. The already the 100 plus women in Wiki Water Resource Council, I barely knew 6 or 7 of them, but I feel very strong and stronger than 4 years ago, just because of the fact that I know these 130 women. Nothing more, nothing less. I have only collaborated with few of them. And by the way, Charu and we are already collaborating for writing a course on urban lake, and we have been already talking for nearly 1 year now. So these collaborations are 2 years now. Yes, Charu, thank you for highlighting. So it has been a very nice
I
journey.
was saying we for victory. I
For
was saying I
victory.
was not
Yes,
saying 2 years.
you are
We
already
have
in
been talking
the
only for few.
yes, few months, but
I
it
have
is
to
already
agree.
for a year now. It's already for a year now we
Yeah.
have on communicating, just less than a year. So I think it is required because we want to be contributing to this transitional phase where women are making their mark. And what best than having these 130 women documented by us, and we will give to every organization in the world. Probably Niti Aayog and Ministry of Jal Shakti will be the first recipient of it when all manels sit and discuss what is the next for water in the country. Maybe they will invite some of us. I am not keen to be invited in many of the places because most of the people tag me as activist. That's why I am not in the many platforms, but at least the other women. I just want to be the voice of as many as possible. So that's it from me. But thank you so much, Anitha and Charuta, for this wonderful interaction and very enlightening. And I was feeling the conversation was flowing like water, and I could see you feeling the same. But I hope you enjoyed. I completely enjoyed. May you remain an inspiration to all of us, and we will be grateful if you can keep us posted about your water endeavors. And here we shall not continue long for Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. We are coming close. Most likely we will close on March 16th. So we have 100 plus 2 sessions already lined up. And do stay tuned because for Medha Patkar, we will have a date as per her convenience and not as per ours, but it will be some Monday, sometime very soon. She has already promised to give me a date tomorrow. So actually today, but I will call her tomorrow to find out. Do stay tuned and keep following us at the Wiki Water Resource Council social media for regular updates. Thank you once again for this great conversation, Charuta and Anitha. Please take care and hope you join the Water Resource Council. Not a mandate, but I hope. Thank you.
Thank
No, it will
you.
be a pleasure. Definitely, it will be a pleasure. Yes. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks a
Take
lot.
care.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Thank
Take
you. Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.